What is good, y'all? It's your boy Deluxe back on YouTube again. I took a little break to be able to execute on some things and be more of a doer than a talker a lot of times, as you guys know very well. Couple heads up. One, I painted my nails. I know. A lot of people are going to be like, wow, you painted your nails. But again, it's one of those things where I flip my binary poles, where when I want to do something, I'm just going to fucking do it. I'm not really going to think or really care about what anybody thinks. It's just like when I dye my hair or cut my beard. It's just one of those things where, hey, I want to do it. I used to color my nails a lot or a couple times when I was younger as a kid. I thought, why not just fucking do it again? So that's first and foremost, because I know everybody's going to be thinking about that. Number two, this video might be a little bit shaky. Now, I lost my tripod. I don't really know where it's at. And I really don't want to take any more time trying to search for it. I'd rather just go ahead and record the content. So as you can see right from here, I'm literally holding it up with my arm inside of the ring light. So if it gets shaky like that, because my arm will get tired on me, my apologies, but that's just what we got to deal with it to be able to create this content. But other than that, the content in this will be really, really beneficial and of value. Just bear with me a little bit, all right, until I find something. Really today, what I want to talk about in this video, I've been off for about 3 weeks on YouTube. I've been working very diligently on not only my elevated mentorship program, but also with my students who are barbers in the industry, and going through these times of the pandemic, or at least coming outside of coronavirus. What is really a big stressing point? I'm trying not to shake this. What's a really big stressing point for us, at least right now, is to really hone in on with barbers and changing their mentality, right? Because especially coming out of something where maybe they haven't made as much money. They want to raise prices, and people are very, very adamant about like earning more money and understanding like they have been on the constant or the comfortable cycle and the hamster wheel of barbering, and just kind of very comfortable where they were at. I think it really shocked a lot of people how much of an influence something like this has, and really puts an emphasis on, okay, where do I get to go with my business now to ensure that it is safe and that I'm still making the most amount of money. So I think a lot of barbers currently are, in my experience with the barber industry, they want to be able to raise prices. And from what I've heard from a lot of barbers and just watching and observing what the industry is kind of doing, people always, and barbers associate, and I try to stay away from the saying barbers, because essentially it's just people in general, right? People in general, whenever we go into business, we tend to think that the more services that we offer, the more that means that we can raise our prices. But this is really opposite of what should be happening. Actually, less service delivery equals more cash. And I'll get into like a little bit more of what I mean of this. Also how it has benefited me in my business, not only cutting hair, but also teaching a lot of and mentoring a lot of my students in the barber industry to be able to raise their prices up. Like a South Bay Chris, who's now charging $100 per haircut. And he's not doing anything much different than what he was doing at, running and charging $30 per haircut. There are tweaks that we do in terms of marketing, and there are tweaks that we do with service delivery, but it's not like we all of a sudden offer the fucking, kitchen and a fucking steak dinner and a beer with the service to be able to associate our price raise. And I think with a lot of barbers and a lot of people, at least, this really goes deeper than just business-wise. It has a lot to do with how they view themselves and how much they really truly think they're worth. Because if you understood how much value you brought, and actually brought true value to whatever client you're serving, you would understand you wouldn't need to raise or raise, I shouldn't say raise, you wouldn't need or feel the necessity to add on more services. You would feel comfortable and confident in the service that you deliver, that it offers the right value, and at the price point that you want to charge at, right? So for this, a lot of barbers and a lot of people in the barber industry, they go ahead and start adding on services like, doing crazy facials, doing a bunch of random shit, doing hair units, which I don't think is bad at all. But if you're not overall like affecting the main service of what you offer, you're just adding a bunch of more shitty services onto a shitty product already, right? And shitty product mixed in with shitty services is still going to produce a shitty result. So I think the idea and the focal point at least should be less on the overall how many services can I add on to up my value, and just upping your overall value on your original service. That's what people pay you for, right? And it's not in terms of like, okay, cool, I just don't need to add anything or change anything. And Deluxe is saying, well, I can go ahead and raise my prices right now. No, there's a lot of big changes that you need to make, but it's not in what you offer, or more of what you offer. Really, like a lot of barbers and a lot of people that I see that raise prices in any industry, right? Let's say, just say for the barber industry, let's say somebody does want to charge $100. They'll be offering a $30 haircut service and then adding on everything else that takes more time out of their day and honestly more work on them. And in the labor industry, the labor mindset of a barber, or people up in the barber industry, this is where like the disconnect is at, because we don't want to add more work onto our plate just to make more money. There is no difference in doing a hour or a 3-hour long service that we charge $100 for over like a $30 haircut service. Your per hour rate is still about $33 per hour. So it's not in the level of, okay, how much stuff can I add on? And it's really an understanding of, well, what is my per hour rate? What do I charge per minute? What is my value inside of that service? And where can I grow with this? And I think a lot of barbers and a lot of people in the industry, they try to sway off this really hard truth. Like they just want to go ahead and say, okay, well, whatever you're doing right now, it's fine. Section off this hair like this, add a little product in here, and then make sure you sell a product with it, right? That's how you're going to earn more money. Well, your product's still shitty. Your haircut's not great. And honestly, like the way that you deliver the service is pretty fucked up, right? And it's not going to allow somebody to want to go ahead and come back to you and paying a high rate, because I'm not going to Denny's to get a steak and paying, $100 for all the extra add-ons. Let's say they add on, like, let's say free drinks, beers, a bottle of wine, cheap wine would be that too, French fries, chicken strips, and all this other bullshit onto there to validate their $100 service, when I could just go to a steakhouse and pay $100 of a worthy steak, right? And I think that's what a lot of people and how they approach business. And it's not their fault, because nobody really talks about this in the industry. A lot of people and a lot of educators too, honestly, like what I've noticed is they're like, well, just add more services to up your value. Adding more services doesn't mean you up your value, right? You could do like pedicures and shit, but that doesn't up your value as being a barber, right? Some of the top barbers in the industry, there's people who are charging a lot more that just do a simple service. And it's the focal point on the actual product and changing the understanding of how do we attack that then, right? That needs to shift. And for me, when I work with my students one-on-one and mentoring, this is like the biggest mental shift over any type of social media stuff that we could do, right? Social media is like the core of how we build our business. But I see a lot of barbers who have 100,000 followers, who have a big following, creating lots of momentum on social media. But when you click on their booking link, they're charging $30 per haircut. And at that too, it's not that great, right? It's not that great of a product. So can they go ahead and service $30 haircuts to people and like be able to market themselves to that? Of course. But they're still going to have to work 16-hour days for what I'm implementing in our students with the elevated mentorship of being only to do in about 5 hours, maybe even 4 hours of work. And it's the labor mentality of, and I've talked about this before, especially if you've listened to the podcast, the warrior mentality, right? Shifting the idea of, I have to struggle in order to make money versus just changing your perception and your worldview of what it really takes to make money, right? A lot of people that come into the barber industry, like, let's face it, a lot of us didn't go to college. I know I didn't go to college, right? And a lot of us stick to like a really grind it out mentality, whether it be from sports background, whether it be from just like hustling on the side type of deal, and thinking the more energy that you output equals the more money. But at some point in time, that machine is going to break and you are going to tire yourself out. And honestly, I got to that point too in my career where I was cutting $20 per haircut. And I got away from overall aspect of like trying to figure out, okay, what is the product that I'm actually servicing, and try to honestly do like 10-minute haircuts. Like that was my goal. I think that's the goal of everybody at some point in time when they give up and don't understand these core issues of like, okay, well, it's not the fact that I need to cut hair faster. It's just I need to actually produce a better product. And what is it going to take? And what are those points of emphasis? I think in my experience too, it sounds good, right? And I think that's why a lot of educators in the industry really voice that, because, well, for one, it's redundant. A lot of educators don't question exactly what should be done in the industry. So it's very, very redundant of the information that's being passed around. But it also sounds good, right? It makes sense to somebody who comes from a labored mindset, right? Who comes from like, well, my time is and my money is equal to the amount of effort I exert out, right? So the more services I have to offer, of course, I'm going to make my higher pay. So it aligns with them. But that's going to get you tired. That's going to get you really not spending time with family. That's also going to get you really stuck behind a barber chair until you want to go and move on to something else and not do it at a very high efficient level. When it comes to practicality, like I said before, the model doesn't work. And I'm sure a lot of you watching this right now, I've done it myself too, like trying to make that shit work. And you're like, fuck, does this even work? Like, okay, they said this, but it's not really like giving me the result I want. And if it's not giving you the result you want, you have to really ask yourself, well, is this really true? What is truth in this, to be able to make money in this industry? Because obviously, like if you're working yourself dog shit hours, and don't mind my sweat in my upper lip. I had to turn off my AC real quick just because I didn't want the background noise. So I might get a little sweaty in this one. But you have to really understand, like, okay, cool. What is truth in this? Is this true? Or is there a better way to do this? Where are they even coming from? What is their experience level? And really, do I really want to be living like that? Do I want to be living in the side of a barbershop, 14, 16 hours every single day for the rest of my life just to make $500 a day? Or is there an easier way, right? And, I've talked about this before when, I started charging $100, $150, $200 and making that much per haircut. It almost became like an unfair game. I really started looking around like, holy fuck, I only did like 2 or 3 haircuts. And I'm making like double, triple what I used to make being in here like for 16, 17 hours out of the day. And the only thing that changed wasn't, my skill level changed a little bit, but that wasn't the biggest difference. The biggest difference in me was my understanding of what actually ran my business. It wasn't in adding on services. It wasn't in doing a bunch of different shit or doing hair units or whitening teeth, right? It was simply focusing in on what really matters, what makes my boat go faster, what makes my business go further and actually grow, instead of avoiding the actual issue. And really looking at myself, being honest with myself and saying, okay, is this really up to par? Or am I just trying to avoid the elephant in the room of my shit's really just not that good at the moment? The goal should not be how best of a job can I do to cover up my shitty service? And I think that's what a lot of people do. They try to cover up a shitty service with a bunch of hyped up services, black masks, which look, I've done before, right? But at the end of the day, people don't come to a barber, and this is getting really shaky. My arm is getting tired. People don't come to a barber just to get a black mask. They come to get their hair cut, right? So how do you execute on that? And how can you go ahead and really up the level of play? And really, the goal is to offer the least amount of services for the most money. Really, you should only be offering a haircut and beard, and really be able to escalate that of amount that you're charging, because really at the core of it, that's really all that matters. Or whatever else you do. Maybe you do a lot of shear work or styling or stuff like that. But I know there's a lot of people who, I talk to a lot of barbers too. They're like, oh, I need to take a class on, coloring is getting real big in the industry, right? Oh, I need to take a class on coloring because, that looks cool. Or I need to go ahead and learn how to section a little bit better. I don't know how to do this section. Or I need to, I need to learn how to do extractions on blackheads. That's what I need to do. It's like, okay, well, what about your haircut service? What is that like? Oh, well, it's only like 30 minutes. I only take about 30 minutes. It takes me about that long to cut a hair, to cut some head, and then get the next person in my chair. And it's like, well, no wonder why you can't raise prices. Nobody wants to go ahead and pay more for, and I'm not saying also you have to shorten down your time, right? And that's another thing people, barbers in the industry think you have to shorten down time to be able to make more money. That's actually the opposite. Now, I'm not saying elongate it like before, right? But probably about an hour service, you can get a very good and decent and very well done, masterful service done in that time frame. 30 minutes, your arm is about to fall off. Your arm is like going through a shoulder workout, and you might tear your what is that? You might have to get Tommy John surgery, right? That's the surgery that baseball players get when they fuck up their arms. But cutting cutting like that at that rate, that fast every single day for that long wears on the body. And longevity wise, that's not what we're here to do. We're here to really like elevate our skill level and elevate our understanding of what it means to be a barber, right? What does it actually mean to cut hair at a very high level? Because end of the day, nothing is new under the sun of like what the hair industry is. There's people who have been able to charge, like myself, 150, 200 bucks per haircut. There's people who charge daily $20 per haircut, right? And it's possible for really anybody. Look, I live in Sacramento, and I hear a lot of people say, well, my city, my clientele doesn't want to pay that much. My city, it's too small. People don't make enough money. I used to have, when I was cutting hair full time, because I don't anymore, I'm technically retired. For me right now, I just teach students and teach barbers how to really elevate and think in this new way to be able to produce this type of result in their career. But when I was cutting hair, I live in Sacramento, like I said. Sacramento is not LA. We're about like 6-7 hours away from LA. And honestly, it's not the Bay Area. People actually move to Sacramento to save money so they don't have to pay high rates in the Bay Area. So it's not a place where people come and like already expect to pay a lot of money. We have a lot of state jobs. It's a state capital here in Sacramento. So a lot of people, they're on salary or they make a fixed amount and they just try to budget. So it's not a place where people actually come to spend money or people like they're big ballers here. Now, that's not to discredit Sacramento, but for me, I used to have people that would drive, all the way from Fresno or over 4 hours away, once every 2 weeks, just to get a haircut. I used to have people like, I remember there was a client that actually flew in just from Tampa Bay, to Sacramento, got off the plane, came to the barbershop. I cut his hair. He wanted to go see his parents and then hopped back on a plane and went back to Tampa. Literally just a quick turnaround like that. So it's from, not because I offered extra services. He didn't come over, make that flight just to get a black mask, right? He could have got that in Tampa Bay. He didn't come over here just to get an extraction on a blackhead or, to get his hair painted. He came to me for a core service that I offered and that I executed very, very well on. And had no problem paying the price that, of course, not only the price of the haircut, but also, which was, I believe, probably like $150, but also the price of a ticket, and when I asked him, well, why are you here? He's like, well, honestly, I'm just here to get a haircut. And, since I'm here, I'll go say hi to my parents and I'll go back. And that's just the understanding of like, I'm not adding on shit. We're not adding extra shit on to a shitty service. We're producing a great service. And like I said before, the issue is more times than not when we get to a deeper level of it, and when I get to a deeper level working with these barbers in my program, it's not the fact that, their service is shitty. It really goes deeper to the point of, well, are you trying to hide the fact that you don't believe you're worth that much or that you could charge that much? Do you believe that you even deserve that much? Because honestly, when I was charging $20, I didn't value my worth at all. I didn't believe I deserved to be able to charge $200 a haircut. I believe if I got up to charging 40, I would be winning, right? And and it's crazy to even say that at this point now, because looking back, what I've done, it just proves the fact of like what goes on in the industry of like what information is being passed around, and what people truly believe as truth. Changing your paradigm and your worldview of not only how you see business, but also how you see, cutting hair in general. How do you view yourself in the industry and what services you offer? And then, really, for me, I ask the question, is my business just adding on more shit on top of my lack of belief in my service? Or am I really pushing myself forward? And you have to be honest with yourself. And I remember when I asked myself that question, I was like, yeah, holy fuck, I'm not pushing my service forward. I'm just trying to add more bullshit on a shitty service. And in business, that's never going to win. You're the Denny's trying to add on more bullshit to a shitty steak instead of just offering a really well quality steak for that price. And honestly, most of the industry wants like these gimmicks and tactics and add-ons instead of addressing the core issue. And the core issue, like I said before, it's not only just in your service, it's also in the individual as well. Well, why do you not feel like you're worth that much? Why do you feel you as a barber in this industry or where you're at is not capable of even charging that much. And a lot of people say, well, no, I'm capable. Well, why haven't you done it yet? You know, if you believe you're capable and you feel like you deserve it, what's taking you so long? And that's the real question that gets a lot of barbers stumbled up when I talk to them to get them into elevated mentorship. It's like, why not? Why haven't you done it so far? You know, on top of that too, kind of when you start doing all these kind of like bullshit services, or just, oh goddamn, I'm just making all this thing shake. When you start adding on bullshit services, or even doing like deals, right? I see barbers like, oh well, you know, if a client comes into me, and this is to build their business up, right? Just to get clients in. Well, if they come into me and then they bring me 3 clients, I'll give them like 7 haircuts discounted off at 43% if they, you know, book with me before 3 p.m. on a Saturday. It's like, you just got way too complicated. Like, you're overcomplicating this thing. You're trying to do too many gimmicks. And on top of that too, you're only going to attract people who want deals and want discounts, and will only come to you because you offer that discount, not because you offer a great service. When I stopped offering services, I even stopped taking walk-ins at some point in time. People would walk in and be like, I want to get a haircut from you. I'm like, great, book an appointment. Because I don't take anybody outside of, you know, just appointments in general. And, you know, that might go against like what people believe, but at the end of the day, like, if people feel like they can just walk in, they don't value your time. They don't value their time as well either. They just see you as like, oh, okay, I'll just pop up on him because he's not worth that much. And you're only going to attract cheap clients who see value in free stuff and free add-ons and extras instead of like what your overall service is. So, you know, we are in a service-based business. I offer more services, therefore I have a business industry. So understand what makes your service worth more. Understand what makes you as an individual worth more. And stop trying to hide this shit. Because most of the industry is trying to hide behind a lot of gimmicks, a lot of fake facades, a lot of social media clout. Instead of, well, what are your results? And like I said, in elevated mentorship, that's what I try to preach a lot, is like, look, fuck all this other bullshit. What's the result we're trying to go after? What is the result that you want? And let's get you there. Because I'm not trying to go around and just have you look the part, be a talker. We're trying to create doers with this thing. Because the industry is at a spot where, especially where we're coming out of the pandemic, a lot of people are really looking at what they're doing as, holy fuck, maybe I should switch things up. Maybe I should go and do something else. And like I said, and I'm always a firm believer of that's fine. Like, I don't think anybody should be a barber full time, not full time, but for the rest of their life. But if you don't do this at the top level and execute at a very efficient high level, what makes you believe that you going to a different industry will make it any different, right? A lot of barbers I talk to want to get into real estate. What makes you believe if you don't fix your character traits and your habits that you exude in your business in barbering, which is very easy and wide open, what makes you believe you're going to act differently when you get into real estate? Oh, well, there's more money in real estate. Well, there's more money in barbering, but you're still not going after it, right? So you might as well just, you know, instead of wasting time and learning something new, learn how to, and the principles and what it's going to take for you to get up to that top tier level of execution, of actually being at the top of your game, of actually being at the top of the industry. And then if you want to go do something else, you can, because you know what it takes to get to the top of the industry. Instead of like, this one, being a victim to the industry, like, see, I can't make money in this, my clients won't pay me this, my city isn't good enough. Because those same actions, those same internal conversations are just going to follow you to the next industry that you go to. And that doesn't do you any good. So that's all I have for this video. You know, really for this, less is more. Don't try to hide behind extra services. Don't try to hide behind add-ons when you're still doing a shitty service. Make a great service. With that too, I know I've been off for about, I believe, 3 weeks or so. Like I said, I try to be a doer, not so much of a talker. So, you know, when I do go off of social media, get off my weekly uploads, it's more of just, well, I'm executing. So trust me, there's more content coming. I will be back on next week as well too, each and every single week. Look out for new nail colors because, you know, it is what it is. And other than that, make sure you guys like and subscribe to this video if you like this content, as well as, look, as of right now, the podcast is being put on hold just simply because, like, Like I said, I'm doing a lot of execution in my business at this current moment, but there's a lot of great content very similar to this content like this. So if this is your first time watching this, welcome to my channel. Welcome to this content. By all means, I do post a video like this, or at least try to, right? Every week. Not so much barber tutorials, but when I do drop a barber tutorial, they're like 2 years old. But I do try to go ahead and make the content in there more about stuff of this, because I think there is less of this and too much redundancy in this industry of what's being talked about. Along with that too, like I said, the podcast is being put on hold, but there are I believe 50 episodes. So I'll leave the links down in the description below. You can go and check out the podcast and listen to that. To be able to just see different points of view of really what it takes to be able to make more money and build and grow in this industry and really get out of that hamster wheel of cutting hair on the daily basis. So with that, make sure you go ahead and check out the podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe to this video and this channel if this is your first time watching. And appreciate y'all, and I'll see you next week.